Hey guys, it's Evan here, and today I'm going to be doing my March Madness bracket with you guys and just basically filling it out and showing you guys who I'll be picking for this year's 2022 March Madness tournament. And as you can see, I'm starting in the East Division, and the first matchup we're going to be going over is Baylor and Norfolk State, and this is basically just like there has been a 16-1 upset with Virginia and UMBC a few years ago, I believe. But, I don't know a lot about Norfolk State, and I know that Baylor won the national championship last year. I have a ton of experience here in the tournament, and I do think Baylor will get past here in the first round. Okay, so there's Baylor, and then we have North Carolina Marquette. This is a very interesting one. North Carolina is obviously played some really, really good games this year. They came up short in that Virginia Tech game. I think the score does not define that game. I think that game was really close until the very end. Virginia Tech's a good shooting team, and I do have them making it to the Sweet 16 in this bracket. And a lot of people are saying that they think Virginia Tech's run is done, and they just had that ACC tournament victory, and then it's over. But I think that Virginia Tech is not done, and that they're a serious team. And the North Carolina, if they can almost knock them off, then I think that's a huge for North Carolina. Obviously, beating Duke and beating some good teams during the season. And yeah, but I also don't know a ton about Marquette. I know that they've been a good team in the past. I made it to the tournament a lot in the past, but I do think North Carolina will get it done here in a very close game. Okay, and then we have St. Mary's and Wyoming/Indiana. I'm going to say Indiana's going to win this game in the first place, so we'll go ahead and cross Wyoming off. I think that St. Mary's is an interesting team because they did upset Gonzaga, but from what I've heard and what I've seen, again, I've done a ton of research on all these teams in the past few days, that St. Mary's has been a pretty off team. This has been a pretty inconsistent team, and Indiana has had some really good games this year, but so is St. Mary's, and I just think that Indiana is a little bit better, and I think Indiana pulls off the upset here. Okay, sorry if I'm running a little slow here. It's hard because of the camera. All right, now, UCLA and Akron. UCLA has had some amazing games this year, obviously playing in their conference championship against Arizona, and they're playing Akron. And I do think Akron is a decent team. They have a new coach this year. I don't know the name of the guy, but obviously a new team then. But UCLA is a veteran team. I have them going far in this bracket. I think they almost beat Arizona. And yeah, they're a really good team. Arizona's obviously amazing. I'm not going to say where I have Arizona going yet, but I do think UCLA gets this one done. Okay, so Texas and Virginia Tech. I said earlier in this thing, I have Virginia Tech going to the next round, but I'm going to say why. Texas, from what I've seen, has had some very inconsistent games. They've played well in a lot of games, and they've also played pretty bad in some games. Not sure how they did in the Big 12 SEC Challenge, but I know that they've been really inconsistent in the past few games. I think the VT run is going to continue to go, and they obviously have proven to be able to knock down shots in important moments. I'm going to go with Virginia Tech here. Okay, now we have Purdue and Yale. Purdue's a hot team. They obviously made it to the championship against Iowa and lost. I think they're going to recover from that and learn from that and bounce back and beat Yale here. From what I've seen, Yale did win their conference championship, and they're averaging almost 70 points per game, but I do think that Purdue is a very high-scoring game and a very good team with Jaden Ivey. Obviously, top 3 best players in the country, and I think Purdue gets it done. Murray State and San Francisco. San Francisco's played Gonzaga twice this year. 2 pretty well games. I think one of them is in single digits, one of them is a win by Gonzaga by like 11 or so. But Murray State is a really hot team. As you can see, they're 30-2. And I think that that's just too much for San Francisco, and I think that Murray State gets it done. All right. And now we have Kentucky and St. Peter's. Not much that I know about St. Peter's, especially for their quality of conference. They're 19-11 loss, so that's pretty bad. But in Kentucky's kind of been inconsistent. Oscar Tshiebwe and DeJounte. I don't know how to. I don't know what DeJounte. I don't know what this Grady I don't know what this Grady's guy's first name is, but I do think that Kentucky will get the dub here. I think that it could be closer than people think, just because I don't know if Kentucky's gonna have an amazing game in this one. But I do think Kentucky gets it done. Oh, sorry about writing, guys. It's difficult with the camera. All right, now back up here, Baylor, North Carolina. I think this is going to be a very, very close game. I think it's going to be much closer than people think it is. I do think that it's going to be very close and that Baylor will have the lead for most of the game. It depends on if North Carolina can make a run at the very end and get the dub here. And that's what I think is going to come. It's going to come down to. Although I haven't seen Baylor play a ton this year, and I have seen UNC play a lot today, I still think Baylor's a better team. And I just think it's going to come down to the very end, and the Baylor will get it done at the end. Once again, they're on one season for a reason. But, yeah, and then, so there's that. And then Indiana, UCLA. I think Indiana is obviously an amazing team, but the power of UCLA going all the way to the championship and playing Arizona, I think that's a really good. I think that that's very powerful, and that shows that they're a really good team. And I think they'll get it done against Arizona there. Okay, VT and Purdue. Purdue is still hot. I think VT. This is a very interesting one. I think this game's going to come down to the wire. And I did say I think I would have VT on the Sweet 16, but I'm really thinking about this one right now. Because Purdue is a good team. I think they're definitely learned from that Big Ten championship and the turnovers that they had, the massive amount of turnovers. But I do think the VT is also a really good shooting team. That's what it's going to come down to. It's the battle of the Purdue offense, and I think it's going to come down battle of the offenses. And I think it's going to come down if Purdue can guard the three. Purdue can guard the three, they win. If they can't, they lose. And I do think that it's literally going to be half and half. Virginia Tech's going to make some threes, and they're going to lose some threes. I don't think that's going to be enough. I've changed my mind. I think Purdue's going to win this one. All right, now, Murray State in Kentucky. I think that this one is going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a game for the ages, and I think it's going to go to overtime. I can just picture it in my mind already. I think Kentucky comes up short here. Murray State gets the dub. I just think that Murray State is a very good team here. I can see them playing really well and having a lot of momentum and just playing good basketball, playing high-power basketball, making some clutch threes when they need them. I think this game's going to go back and forth all game. I really picture this game being like that Oral Roberts Ohio State game last year. Ohio State not having an amazing game. Again, that's a way bigger upset than this game, but Ohio State not playing their best basketball then. And I don't think Kentucky is either, and I think that Murray State can knock them off here. Murray State and Purdue, here we have them too. Very interesting game because I do think that Murray State can knock off Purdue again. But I think that Purdue has... this is very tough. I think that Murray State is this year's UCLA team from last year. I think that Murray State can 100% make a run to the Final Four. And I think that Purdue is a very good shooting team, very good defensive team, but they just have too many turnovers. And if Murray State can make threes in the clutch, I think they win. And Purdue, I think it's a matter of the three-point counter. That's going to decide a lot of these games, in my opinion. And I do think that Murray State will win again. I'm on the Murray State train. I think they're going to win it again. UCLA, Baylor. Very interesting game for me here. I think that I'm just going to go and say here who I think is going to win. I think UCLA wins this game. I think that Baylor has a very good strength of schedule and played a lot of good teams and beaten a lot of good teams. But I just think that UCLA is hot and they're going to stay hot. I think they beat Baylor. UCLA is an amazing team. They've been consistent all year, it feels like. And then now they're in a position where they're playing into Murray State again for a trip to the Final Four in New Orleans. This is a very difficult game to choose because I do think Murray State has played amazing. I do think Murray State can easily make a run to the Final Four, but I just think that UCLA is hot and they're not cooling down just yet. I do think UCLA is back in the Final Four this year. Now, we are going to now move up to the west. Hold on, I'm gonna try to adjust the camera. Okay, here we go. Gonzaga and Georgia State. Apparently, Georgia State is a lot better than people are considering them, and they should have been a higher seed. Don't know about that one, but I still think Gonzaga get it done. Okay. Boise State, Memphis. From what I've seen, Memphis has been pretty good. Penny Hardaway. Both teams have been pretty good. Apparently, Boise State is a very good veteran team, and Memphis is kind of a new team, and that's what I think decides it. I think that Boise State gets the dub. UConn and New Mexico State. Now, UConn has been hot throughout the season, playing good teams like Providence and Creighton, and that's what I think gets them done because they've been in this position before. Again, they haven't been in the tournament in a few years, but UConn is a good team. They obviously, their record shows that, and their conference shows that, playing some good teams. Like I said, Providence and Creighton, both teams have been in the tournament this year, and beating teams like them, like Providence. And Providence is obviously a 4 seed, and that's why I think UConn gets it done here. New Mexico State, not a lot of experience, but they do have a lot of experience in the tournament. Arkansas, Vermont. Vermont is a good team. Don't underestimate them. This could be a possible upset. I do think that 100% Arkansas could go down here to Vermont. I think that it's going to be a lot closer than people think, but I do think that Arkansas ekes it away at the end. Vermont puts up a fight, and they just come up short this time. Alabama and Rutgers / Notre Dame. I'm going to cross off Notre Dame. I think it's going to be Rutgers. And I do think that Alabama's inconsistent, man. They've had some really good games this year, and I don't think they're going to make a lot of three-pointers in this game, and that's usually when they win games. And I just think they're too inconsistent, and the Rutgers gets it done. Now, we're on to Texas Tech, Montana State. I've seen some polls and looked up some research for this game because I'm in a survivor pool, and I thought about picking Texas Tech as my Thursday game. But apparently Montana State is a good team. The record shows that, and apparently they've played some good teams too. I do think that Montana State will put up a fight. I can still see this game like an 8-point game, though. The TTU gets it done. And here now we have Michigan State and Davidson. 100% this game could be an upset. Davidson has had a ton of experience in the bracket, I think, especially with Steph and all that. But I do think that Michigan State is really good, and they've had some really good games this year. But they're just they've had a lot of games and they've come up short in the fourth quarter, and I think that's going to happen again here. Close game, but Davidson wins. All right, now, Duke and CSU Fullerton. CSU Fullerton has had a good season. They put some good teams like Gonzaga, but I just think that Duke's too much for them right now. And I think they're out for the blood right now, and they get it done first round. Gonzaga versus Boise State. Boise State's a veteran team. Gonzaga's kind of a new team. Timmy and the big men, Timmy and Holmgren, I think are going to be the reason Gonzaga wins this game. I think they dominate the paint, and I think they get it done. Okay, UConn versus Arkansas. This game is going to be really good, but I just think UConn gets it done here. I think that they're just too much for Arkansas. I think they have a better strength of schedule, although there are some really good teams in the SEC, such as Auburn and Kentucky. I just think that which Arkansas didn't perform the best against, they had some really good games in the middle of the season, but then they kind of slowed up at the end. And I think that they're going to slow up here, and UConn gets the dub. Now, we have Rutgers and Texas Tech. I am going to take Texas Tech here. I think their defense is really good. I've seen them play really good defense. I watched that championship against Kansas. They were in it till the very end, and I just think there were the final minutes at least. Texas Tech is a good team, and I think they get it down there. Davidson, Duke. Closer than people think. I think, yeah, but I can still see Duke winning by like 8 or so. Duke, Texas Tech. I'm going to take Texas Tech here. I think their defense is just too much for Duke. I think their defense and their ability to cut to the basket and get easy buckets is really, really going to be the reason that they win this game. Okay, UConn, Gonzaga. I think the UConn is hot, and kind of like Murray State. I want to say that they're going to stay hot, but I just don't know. I'm going to take Gonzaga here. I think that they're just too good of a they have that too good big man duo. Chet can obviously shoot as well, and Timmy and Chet can dominate the paint, and I think that's too much. Gonzaga, Texas Tech, a rematch of a couple years ago when Texas Tech took them out. I think Texas Tech defense is too much. I think they'll be able to handle. I think they'll be able to handle Timmy and Holmgren good, and I think that they're just gonna make it to the Final Four once again. Here, so my two Final Four people in the East and West are UCLA and Texas Tech. All right, now we are going to shift over to the other side of the bracket. We're going to go to the Midwest Division. Kansas, Texas A&M, Texas A&M, CC. Literally, I mean, that's just for, like, ha-has or whatever, but I think Kansas gets the dub. But San Diego State, Creighton. San Diego State is a veteran team versus Creighton, who is kind of a new team, but they still play in a really good conference, but the veteran teams usually do well in March Madness. I'm going to pick San Diego State. Let me just fix that real quick. Iowa versus Richmond. Richmond had that run against Davidson at the very end, but I think Iowa's too much. They obviously had that really good run for the Big Ten title. And then Providence, South Dakota. I'm going to take Providence here. I don't know much about the Jackrabbits, but I know Providence is a good, kind of a new team. But apparently the Jackrabbits are really good on the offensive end, but Providence is very good on the defensive end, and they can get to the basket for some good buckets here. LSU, Iowa State. LSU with the firing of their coach, that's really big, and I think that's going to affect them. And I do think that they get the dub versus Iowa State. But another thing about them getting the dub versus Iowa State is LSU is a good, very good shooting team. I think they put on a clinic against Missouri. Again, Missouri's a good team, but they're still an SEC team. And they're a good defensive team. They were one of the best. But I think that they play, oh my gosh, I wrote LSU. I think it's just not enough, and they're going to be still kind of discouraged with the firing of their coach, and I think Iowa State gets it done. All right. Wisconsin, Colgate. I think that this game's very interesting. Colgate's been in the tournament before. They played Arkansas last year, had a big lead in the first half and kind of blew it. But Wisconsin's still a good team. I don't know much about them. But I can see Colgate pulling off the upset here. They definitely know how to cut to the basket and get some buckets, and that's why I'm going to go with Colgate here. I think I don't know a lot about Wisconsin, but I think Colgate will get the dub. Wisconsin obviously coming up short in the Big Ten. And USC, Miami. Miami obviously had that one against Duke. And I think that Miami's going to get this one done. And they're good that Miami will get it done versus USC because of their ability to shoot and their defensive abilities. Auburn, Jacksonville State. Don't know anything about Jacksonville State. I'm taking Auburn. And Auburn, I looked at the line and stuff, and Auburn is like 17, 18-point favorites. And a lot of the websites I were on, everyone is taking the over. Kansas versus San Diego State. I think Kansas is too much. They're too much of an offensive team for San Diego State, even though they're a veteran team. Iowa versus Providence. Very interesting game. I think it's going to be a very, very good game. But I think Iowa's too much. I think they're rolling right now. They're hot. I just think they're rolling. They're hot. They obviously won the Big Ten against Purdue, and that wasn't a fluke for Purdue. They still played good basketball. It's just they had some costly turnovers that obviously cost them the game. Iowa State versus Colgate now. I think Colgate's streak comes to an end here. Iowa State gets it done again. Miami and Auburn. I think that you know what? I'm actually going to say that Miami pulls this one off, I think. I think that it's going to be, I think Auburn's just too inconsistent. Jamari Smith and the Auburn team, they're going to get better, but I think that this year is just not their year, and then they're going to go out second round to Miami. Miami versus Iowa State. I know Iowa State's a very good defensive team, and so is Miami. But I'm going to go with Miami here. I think that they're a good team, and they play good basketball, and they are very good shooters, and they have the ability to contend with good teams. I think that ACC, they're really going to learn from that ACC tournament game against Duke, and they're going to play better. Kansas versus Iowa. This is a very interesting game because Kansas played very, very well against Texas Tech, but so did Iowa against Purdue. That's what made this game so interesting. I can see this game coming down to the wire, but I think Kansas wins by 5. 5 to 7 points. All right, now Miami. Sorry about the noises in the background, by the way. And then here we have Kansas and Miami. We have Kansas and Miami, and so I think Kansas is just too much for Miami. I think their streaks comes to an end, and I think Kansas moves on in the Final Four. And I just think that Miami, they had a great run, and their ability to defend the basketball and shoot the basketball and contend with good teams is the reason that I have Miami even making it to the Elite Eight. Now, all right, now we're going to adjust real quick. Arizona versus Wright State and Bryant. Okay. All right. Sorry about those noise in the background, everybody. That's my sister. Arizona versus Wright State and Bryant. I'm going to take Arizona here. I'm just to pick them. Not pick them, sorry. It's 1 versus 16. I'm not going to pick any upsets here. Seton Hall, TCU. I'm going to take TCU here. Seton Hall doesn't seem that good this year. I've seen them several times. I haven't watched them, but I've heard about them and watched reviews on their games, and they just haven't been the best this year. And I think that TCU is just too much. Houston and UAB. Houston has been hot all year. I think they kind of fell at the end there, so they haven't been hot all year. But I still think they're a really good team, and then they get the dub. Chattanooga, Illinois. I'm picking Chattanooga. Apparently Chattanooga is really hot. They had that play against against Furman that sent them to that title game. I think that they're hot, and they're going to keep rolling. Sorry about that camera angle, everybody. I am so sorry about that. So now we have Chattanooga. Colorado State, Michigan. I think that Juwan Howard is back, obviously. I think that's a veteran team, and they're going to be inspired, and they're going to win this game. They've been through a lot this season, and I think they're going to win it. Tennessee Longwood, almost like that's kind of just like this game, like Arizona Wright State Bryant. Longwood is, I'm not going to say that because it's still a 3 versus 14 game. I think Tennessee deserved to be a 2 seed, but they're not. I don't know a lot about Longwood. I know Tennessee's favored by 16.5 points, and I think that the website I was on, people were taking the over. And again, I'm not picking all these games off the website. I was looking up stuff for my survivor pool earlier, and so I think Tennessee gets it done versus Longwood. I think it's closer than people. I don't really know. I think that 16.5 is kind of a perfect line, like 86 to 70 or something. But I do think Tennessee gets it done. Ohio State, Loyola Chicago. Ohio State's been banged up all year with injuries. I think Loyola Chicago gets it done. They obviously have a ton of March Madness experience with that Final Four run a couple years ago. Villanova, Delaware. I'm going to take UV here. I just think that Villanova is a very good team this year. They've been ranked top 5 several times, and I just think that they're really good. Arizona, TCU. I'm going to go with Arizona. I think TCU is a good team, but I don't think they're as good as Arizona. I think Arizona's hot, and I think they're a great team, offensively and defensively, especially in the paint. Houston, Chattanooga. I think Chattanooga runs comes to an end. I'm taking Houston. Michigan versus Tennessee, I think Tennessee is too good. I think Michigan's been through a lot this year, and I think Tennessee's hot right now. They're an amazing offensive team from what I've read and seen, and they have the ability with Santiago Vescovi to make threes and Kennedy Chandler, and so I think that's just going to put them over the top against Michigan. Loyola Chicago and Villanova. I don't think Loyola Chicago is going to make a big run this year. I can definitely see Villanova blowing them out of the water here. Tennessee, Villanova. Great game. I think they've met March Madness before. I just think it's going to be very close, that Villanova is going to get this one done. And I think the reason why is because Villanova is like a great team that's been in the top 10 several times for a reason. I don't know a lot about them, but if they're, I'm not going to be like a person who's because they're ranked that high. But like if you're ranked top 5, and Tennessee has been hot, but Tennessee just feels like they're missing something. And Villanova has that something, and I think that's too much to put them over the top. And Arizona and Houston. I'm going to take Arizona here. I just think they're too hot right now. I think that they won their conference against UCLA, which I already have making the Final Four, who are really, really good. And I think that that's just too much to take over Houston against. Also, Houston was an amazing team throughout the year. I just think that Arizona is too much. Houston versus Villanova. Again, it's one of those games where I feel like Villanova is so close to having that. I think it's the three-point shooting for Villanova and the ability. Arizona, their athleticism is just too much. Arizona gets it done. They move to the Final Four. My Final Four is now. My Final Four that you can see, I'm showing it to everybody. We have Kansas, UCLA, Texas Tech, and Arizona. Now, UCLA, Texas Tech. Texas Tech with the amazing defense and their amazing ability to cut to the basket. But UCLA, sorry about that camera angle, but UCLA is hot. UCLA, they obviously had that heartbreaker to Arizona, but I just think UCLA, they're good. I think the UCLA goes to the national championship. I think the Arizona ability to score against crunch moments is just like they can't score in crunch moments. They had that against Kansas in the very end. Like they couldn't score in the last 3 minutes, and that's what puts UCLA over the top. Kansas, Arizona. Such a big one because Kansas is the ability to score against great defenses, but Arizona has that too, and Arizona has amazing athleticism and all of this talent, and I just think Arizona gets it done again, and I think that they play in the championship versus UCLA rematch, and I think that this is similar to that Virginia versus Texas Tech game in the Final Four or in the championship a couple years ago. Arizona, UCLA, they played before. UCLA wants it more than anything versus Arizona. And I just think the Arizona is too much again this time. I think I can see this game easy going to overtime. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. And I think that the final score, if you want a final score, I think it'll be a shootout. I think I'm just going to go to overtime. I think it's going to be 90 to 88 OT. And ladies and gentlemen, that is my March Madness bracket. Arizona is who I have winning. I'm going to show you just a quick picture or if you want to look at it one more time. Just look at my whole bracket. I have a bunch of upsets throughout this merged state. Obviously, having them making to the Elite Eight. Some of the teams have them making to the Elite Eight. Miami. I have Villanova in the Elite Eight. That's not really an upset. Texas Tech, they're a 3 seed. Yeah. But I see Baylor going down, Gonzaga going down, Kansas going down. But yeah, I just think that the fact that Arizona just has that talent. They have that edge. And I just think that they will get it done versus sorry if I like exhale too deep there, but they play UCLA in the final match. That is my final score. Sorry about those noises in the background earlier. Sorry about the handwriting. But that is my final game. See you guys later.